And in studios, I have Mr. Peter Kauju, who is the head of Public and Corporate Affairs at KCCA. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you, Mala.
We have heard the concerns on the ground. And so, like you were telling me, over 60% of the vehicles in Uganda are actually here in Kampala.
Yes.
And so there's that gap between the big number of vehicles that are in Kampala and the parking slots that are available.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Mala, and Andrew for all that insight, and everybody for contributing. We have been sharing over time, Kampala is the capital of Uganda, and there are many people in the city. We are talking about close to 5 million people in the city. Some come for education, some come for medical attention, majority of them come for business. You know, so what this means is that you have to cater for quite big numbers beyond what you can actually contain. So over 60% of vehicles in the country actually use Kampala roads.
Right.
Yeah, so this is quite an overwhelming number, and we have slightly over 5,600 parking slots in the city. And we can't accommodate everybody. So what we have done is to actually encourage investors or would-be investors to also think actually of building parking towers instead of thinking of arcades. Kampala is known for actually shopping arcades,
right?
But I know that there are very many that are actually empty now. So we have been interesting people to actually invest in parking as well, in addition to what we have been able to provide. So Multiplex is an agent of KCCA,
right?
And they had a running contract for about 10 years, so they will be running up to 2020. So based on their performance, then we can look at the possibility of reviewing, either renewing or getting somebody else. But yes, they are genuinely working on behalf of KCCA, and they collect this money and make a monthly remittance to KCCA. This money, because they were asking for accountability,
yes,
this money is actually part of the revenue that we earn as KCCA, and so we are able to build some of the services and some of the infrastructure that you see, the roads and all that. And I had a number of them complaining about the fading marking.
Yes,
yeah.
That is another question, because
Yes.
when you go to town, you really don't know where you're supposed to park, where you're not supposed to park, and you end up being at risk of being clumped. So
Yeah.
what exactly is happening? Whose responsibility is it to clearly mark the parking slots in the city?
Yes, we definitely work hand in hand with Multiplex to ensure that the markings are actually properly done, and that they are visible, so that you don't clamp people for parking in the wrong places. I mean, they should be clear that with no hassle, with no hard intentions or strain, I should be able to see where I can park, and I should also be guided. However, a number of people have also been clamped for wrong parking, because these are clear boxes and they are clearly demarcated, but you'll find somebody not paying attention. Others actually park on the pavements. Others park in ungazetted areas, and once we find you in an ungazetted area, we clamp you. You'll either pay a fine. So this is actually, because we are supervisors, we're the supervisors of Multiplex.
Yes.
You have actually seen some of our people, the enforcement team in yellow, also picking people who park wrongly on our pavements. They break them, so then those ones we take them directly to court.
Most people actually are clamped because they really didn't know, genuinely, they didn't know if this is a parking slot or not. So what is KCCA in conjunction with Multiplex doing to ensure that we have clear parking slots in the city?
Yes, we do a lot of sensitizations with Multiplex, and they have agents. Actually, when you go to park in most of these places, you'll find somebody with an apron.
Yes.
Yeah, with a Multiplex apron. And so this person should be able to actually guide you
On where to park.
Yes, on where to park, and tell you about the rates and all that, so that nobody takes advantage of a driver.
Let me ask you, because I've also fallen prey of this. At times I go to the street, I want to park, but it takes me like 3 minutes, 5 minutes before I spot an agent, a parking agent, exactly. So how many agents are actually deployed in a certain space to ensure that there's that efficiency?
Okay. I can't give you the number of exactly how many agents are deployed in a given stretch, but what I know is that they have quite some big number of people that they use to guide clients in the city. And we review. We actually sit with Multiplex and review performance almost on a weekly basis. So some of these issues actually that come up, we are able to pick them and share with them. Because we've also picked other, issues like people complaining of, bribes and all that, wrongful clamping and all that. So we review all that because at the end of the day, people come to the city to work, and so they must actually find convenient places to park and go carry on their work.
My other question is, someone on Facebook actually said that on the roads, at times, it's hard to even navigate as a driver because it's already a narrow road and we already have parking provisions. So what parameters did KCCA use to come up with this, designated parking slots in the city?
Yes. Thank you, Myla. As you know, we actually manage traffic in the city as well. It's part of our role as KCCA. And we have a traffic management section. So you notice that not every road in the city actually has parking slots. Yeah, so we were able to carry out a study and observe that some areas could actually, contain some parking. So that's why we have parking at given roads. Even with the parking, people should actually be able to navigate and drive safely.
I'll give you an example, like Darwinton Road.
Yes, Darwinton.
Darwinton has parking provisions.
Yes.
And it's a two-way traffic kind of, stretch, from Ginger Road to this other side of town. And so navigating most of the times is hard because you have people who want to see how they can navigate their parking, get into the parking. Others want to get out. There's still, commotion on the, both lanes. And so many a times, others get knocked, scratch each other. And so on that particular stretch, I'm concerned.
Yes.
What parameters did you use to say now we have enough space to have parking lots on this road?
The particular road you're talking about is actually a dual carriage road.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So there is space enough. The only challenge at times is I think we are always in a hurry. Kampala drivers, I don't know, maybe it happens in other cities, but Kampala and maybe Nairobi also, we seem to be in a hurry all the time, and also the failure to respect other road users. But I think if somebody was patient for only 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you allow somebody to park and then you're able to move. And so we would avoid all that kind of things, scratching and, quarrels on the roads. So sometimes this is what we actually tell people, the drivers, please respect other road users and also be patient when you are on the road. So the road is actually, it's not wide enough to what we would want it to be, but it's what we have, and we have to provide space for those that want to park, but also leave enough space for the vehicles that are moving. For the vehicles that are moving.
Yes. You mentioned that you are trying to encourage investors to come up with parking towers in the city.
Yeah.
What incentives are you giving them to ensure that you have big numbers of this getting into that space?
Yes, and before that, also as KCCA, we're actually trying to create more parking space, more parking slots in the city. And one of the initiatives that we have undertaken is to build a multi-level parking facility at our parks. So we built the new park with that provision, and we actually almost concluding a partnership with the Chinese government, and we'll be able to build a multi-level parking facility at the new park, so that besides the taxis, besides the public transporters, we can also provide parking space for people that drive to town. It's going to be the same arrangement for the old park because we've already done the designs as well. We would be building a multi-level parking facility, so you have the public transport vehicles possibly in the basement and some other levels, and then you provide room for other people also to park upstairs. What I told you is true, that we are actually encouraging people to also build parking towers. Like I said, you'll see that Kampala has quite a number of arcades people build for letting office and businesses, but there are quite many that are not occupied now. And we are telling them, look, there's an opportunity here. We have so many vehicles in the city, so we can approve your plans and also enable you to ensure that you can actually start building. And there are quite a number of people that have built. There's a big parking tower just around Christ the King Church, right closer to KCCA. And there are many other plans that we have approved for parking towers. We may not be giving discounts and telling you we are not going to charge you for the plan and all that, because we also need the money to provide other services.
So there's no incentive.
Yeah, but at least they have some special consideration to ensure that their plans are approved in line with that, given the current situation we have.
As we look at the issue of parking, the other issue we cannot overlook is security.
Yes.
In the parking slots.
Yes.
Especially with public, you know, kind of provisions for parking. Many a times people have complained that I parked, by the time I came back, I didn't have my side mirror. You know, people picking them up.
Yes.
Is multiplex also mandated to ensure that there's security for the cars that are parked in the parking slots that they oversee?
Definitely. If I have entrusted you with my property, then you take charge. But what we do also is to use support of other agencies. Yes, we have our contractor who is multiplex, but also we have our teams on the road. So when they're on the road, they're also on the lookout. Also not forgetting that law and order is a job that is done by Uganda Police. So we work with all these agencies to ensure that there is safety and security for the vehicles that are parked in these slots. In the event that something bad happens or somebody picks your mirror, still you pursue this with multiplex. With multiplex,
yes. And not KCCA.
Yeah, with multiplex, because they're the people running.
And what provisions are there now that you're the supervisors? If today something happens to my car, maybe a side mirror was taken off,
yes.
If I go to multiplex, what ideally should happen?
There should be compensation, but they will investigate this actually if their agent was actually not keen, if they slept on a job, and then they pursue that line for possible compensation and replacement of any damage caused on the vehicle.
So if my side mirror is off, they'll replace it?
Yes. You would have to pursue it with them, yes.
Okay.
Because I mean, it would be a big problem. If I have entrusted you with my property,
yes.
Why shouldn't it be taken care of? Yeah, so for me to return and it's a loss and it's on my side, it can't add up.
It can't add up.
Yeah.
That's totally true, because I've had instances where my friends have told me, never even dare park on the streets, because there's that risk. And not just the security risk of having a part of your car taken off, there's the risk of your car being knocked, you know, the hit and runs cases, someone knocking your car and moving away. How is multiplex ensuring that that is also looked into? Because fine, I'll agree. This issues of, you know, your side, a part of your car being taken off and not so frequent, but the so frequent security issues are the hit and run cases, where someone hits you, you come and get a scratch, you know. How does multiplex handle that as well? Because
that would be a traffic offense, and the only thing I know is that most people don't follow up, because you find your car, it's scratched, and you know they'll drive away. They'll say, well, this won't, but you actually have an opportunity to follow up with this agent to tell you your car was scratched by ABCD and all that, and then it's a matter you can actually follow up with the traffic police so that they can pursue all these people. There are mechanisms of looking for all these bad drivers and people who cause damage to others and vanish. Yeah.
So the person to go to is multiplex.
Yes, you will use, you will actually pick information from the agent you left your car with,
yes.
Who can provide information, and then you pursue it with the traffic police.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Let's look at the fees.
Yes.
And what we noticed is, even if you park for 1 second, you're supposed to pay for the parking fees.
Yes.
What modalities was KCCA in conjunction with multiplex? What modalities were you using to come up with these parking rates?
Okay. Number one, these facilities, the roads where people park, they are maintained. We actually build these roads, we do maintenance. You'll find sometimes the number of complaints, people saying there are potholes here, because there is wear and tear, you know, so you will need to maintain them. We also clean these places. You won't come and park on a heap of garbage. You need to park in a good place.
Right.
So the rates that are charged right now had not changed for a very long time. They only changed last year.
Yes.
And so for the first hour, if you're parking in the city,
0 to 1 hour.
Yeah,
to 60 minutes.
Actually, let's say 0 to 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, you pay 1,000 shillings, Uganda shillings per hour. Yeah, if Mala has come and parked in the city center for 2 hours, she will pay 1,000 per hour. Meaning, if you're there for 2 hours, then you pay 2,000.
2,000, yes.
For any additional time you spend, for every 30 minutes, you pay 800 shillings. You know?
Yes.
You pay 800 shillings. And the reason we are doing this is to efficiently utilize the space that we have. We don't have much space, but also some people, you know, come, park, and abandon the places. So this money helps us. It's the money we use to provide services in the city. And like I said, when Multiplex picks the money, because there was a gentleman asking and saying they don't account for that money. When they collect that money, they make a monthly remittance. They make a monthly pay to KCCA. And that is how we get it to our treasury, and we are able to spend on some of the activities. We think it's realistic. We think it's realistic given the times. You look at the levels of inflation, look at all that, how the economy is performing. So we think it's realistic money.
Let's talk about clamping. Many a times we've had, especially when Andrew Chamagero was on ground, there are people who had concerns with fake parking agents purporting to be workers of Multiplex. So you're clamped unfairly, and you're told you have to pay this exorbitant fee for you to be unclamped. So how should us, as umuntu awansi, or road users, what parameters should we use to identify an authentic and real agent of Multiplex?
Okay, thank you very much. Mala, first of all, I would want to encourage all drivers in the city to respect the traffic regulations that are in place, and also to utilize the presence of these parking agents in the city. When we find somebody wrongly parked, especially on a pavement, we spend a lot of money to actually fix these pavements, because every time you hear somebody has parked on a pavement, somebody has, knocked this.
Yes.
So we spend money to maintain them. So we would want people to do the right things and park in the right slots, avoid parking in the wrong areas. In the event that we find you, either Multiplex finds you or KCCA finds you, for us, we take people to court directly. If we find you parked on a pavement, we will pick your car, put it on a carrier, and then you go to court. So when you go to court, there are fines that are determined by the magistrate. Once that is done, then you can go and pick your car. For Multiplex, they have agents, and their agents are always on uniform. They have an apron, clearly marked Multiplex. But we have also had, Kampala is a place of sharp people.
Yes.
Yeah, we have also heard that there are some masqueraders that come and clamp people and then, take advantage so that they can pick money from them. In case your car is clamped by Multiplex, you go to any Multiplex office nearby, and you'll get assistance from there. If it's actually a masquerader or a wrong person, you'll quickly know, and possibly this person will have run away. So let's...
How will you know?
And that's what I said, that you need to go to, in case your car is clamped, you go to a Multiplex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
report. They'll be able to come.
Yeah, so they'll be able to actually cross-check, and if it's yours, they will find it in the system, and they will deploy people to come and check. But if it's a masquerader, possibly by the time you return, they will have vanished. They will have run away. But above all, it's also very good to maintain discipline when you're on the road, when you're parking, and also respect for other road users. These are public roads, they are public spaces, so we must use them jointly and respectfully.
Ideally, how much should I pay to be unclamped by Multiplex?
Depending, actually, the clamping is not only when you have parked wrongly, but also there are people who are clamped because they have arrears, parking arrears. You see, somebody comes, parks, they are given a ticket, and they drive away, they don't pay. So they record in the system. So also I think there is a fine for that, for defying the the regulation. So there's a fine for that also, which I don't have here. But again, like I was saying, it actually zeroes down on discipline.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you've been guided, park here, and you're supposed to pay 1,000 shillings if you spend an hour, and 2,000 if you spend 2 hours, and then you just drive away. Like any business, like any operator, I mean, there are rules that govern and regulate that sector, so they will have to give you a fine.
You spoke about being clamped as a result of having arrears of the parking tickets that are not paid.
Yes.
And we've had instances where people just buy cars, for example, I can buy a car from you, Kauju, and then maybe you had arrears and that will be translated to me. Then what is the code that people should look out for just to know if their cars have arrears or not?
Okay. Thank you very much. It's actually a very, very important point, and it cuts across, because whether it's parking areas or traffic areas, because there are people also that commit traffic offenses, and then the plates, the number plates actually registered in the system.
Right.
Yeah, so whichever network you're on, whether MTN, Airtel, all those, there is that facility. You actually go to the mobile services, and there is an option to check. You'll actually check multiplex fees or charges, and then you'll also be able to check for traffic offenses. So we encourage people to do that. In case you're not able to do that, also you can go to the traffic police at CPS, you can go to multiplex physically, and they'll be able to take you through. Otherwise, you'll take on liability which you actually don't know about, and you'll have to pay. You'll have no other option but to pay it.
There's this other concern as we come to a close. For example, you're driving a vehicle, and we've seen many stationary vehicles on the road, especially now that I come to work very early in the morning. I pass through very many. And so what's the process? If in case today I am driving and then the car develops a mechanical issue and it's at night and I can't do anything, then I decide, let me go home and come back. What's the procedure before that vehicle gets towed away? Yeah,
you actually can't just abandon your car along the road, or maybe it's night. It's always advisable that once you get a mechanical challenge, if you can quickly get a breakdown to pick it, and possibly it's taken either at a police station or a garage, the better. Better still, you can inform the traffic police. They will always come and ensure that there's at least support given, either via a breakdown to be taken to a police or to a garage. It's not advisable to leave your car where it breaks, otherwise it will get vandalized. And also parking on the pavement still, even when the car has a problem, is prohibited. You'd rather put you know, the double indicators to show that there's actually a problem as you work on a way to ensure that it is picked and taken for fixing. And does KCCA do those patrols in the city? Because these stationary vehicles also pose, you know, a great risk on road users. We actually do patrols. We have, you always see our people in yellow. We do those patrols. It's a big problem in the city center, especially where trucks come to load and, you know, offload. The regulation we have indicates that goods vehicles should actually come to the city between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. But the practice has been that somebody comes and parks. If they don't get a job, if they don't get, you know, somebody to take merchandise for, they never leave, and they cause a big problem. So we've been doing a lot of work downtown trying to enforce. It's still a major challenge, but we are trying to sensitize them and ensure that they don't block roads, and so that we can start enforcing that regulation. We haven't enforced it. We've just been sensitizing them and telling them, look, this is the time you expected in the city, and this is what we expect you to do. Okay, all right. Closing remarks? Yeah, thank you, Mala. Thank you, our viewers. I only urge you to maintain discipline when you're on the road. These are public roads. These are parking facilities for the public. Don't just be mean and think about yourself alone. Think about other road users, whether they are drivers, whether they are pedestrians, whether they are cyclists. We all deserve respect when we're on the road. Let's keep discipline and let's respect traffic signals. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming in studios. Thank you for making time. We truly appreciate it. At least we now know the rules and regulations when it comes to parking in the city. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Morning at 10 TV still continues. Up next is Take Notes.